Hello, my name is Zac Head. I'm the Associate Pastor of Worship and Discipleship at Forest Lake United Methodist Church in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. And today I want to talk to you about the Old Testament reading from our lectionary text for this week. And that reading is the creation poem that begins the book of Genesis. So this is Genesis chapter 1 through chapter 2, verse 4. But really I want to focus on just the first couple of verses of this poem, where we hear about where creation kind of begins. Now, this creation poem tells us more about God than it does about creation. It tells us who the poet believes God is. And so let's look at this very beginning. It says that in the beginning, the earth was a formless void. This has for centuries been understood as a way of portraying a bit of chaos there at the beginning, but perhaps a better way of understanding it is that the earth had not yet enjoyed God's full presence. And so we hear that as the earth is this formless void, that the wind of God hovers over the waters that cover the earth. Another way of understanding this would be that the very Spirit of God is hovering over those waters. Now, the poet who wrote this creation narrative would have understood that his audience understood the depths of the ocean, the water that covered creation at that point, and now that covers the parts that land does not. They would have understood that ocean as a source and a symbol of chaos, a source and a symbol of uncertainty, a source and a symbol of death. In fact, many people across the earth at that point believed that the underworld was found in the depths of the ocean. And so this is where the poet tells us God begins this creation narrative, this story of love. God hovers over chaos, uncertainty, and death. And then God begins to create. I don't have to tell you again that we are in the midst of a season of chaos, uncertainty, death, grief, pain. You're feeling it, aren't you? Especially right now as civil unrest continues to mount here in the United States of America. For good reason. There is so much hurt and pain that we must address. Folks, hear the good news here in the very first couple of verses of Scripture. God hovers over the chaos. God becomes a part of the uncertainty. God destroys that idea of death. God separates the water and creates space for life. Even in this creation narrative, we hear about how God takes this symbol of death, the ocean, the deep, and places life within it. Friends, I hope that in the midst of this chaotic, uncertain season filled with death and hurt and pain, that you will experience the life that God is creating before our very eyes. Amen.